Hello and welcome to this edition of High Vibe Nation. And today I have an incredible guest that I'm looking forward to sharing with you. Her name is Vix Munro. And stay tuned, we will be right back.
The High Vibe Nation is live. Welcome to the High Vibe Nation. The goal is to raise the vibration of every human being on the planet. Your host on this journey is Sherry Gideon. So let's join her now in her current interview with a high-vibing individual.
Hello, and welcome again to High Vibe Nation, a space for you to remember the power within you. It's a love revolution. And today, our special guest is Vix Munro, who is passionate about money, investing, and the economy. Having created her own multi-million-dollar investment portfolio, her mission is to help women create and build wealth and retire rich in every way. She believes we all have the ability to transform our money mindset and rewire our money story and become financially empowered. And that this can be liberating, life-changing, and fun. And she offers strategic financial advice and consolidating and wealth coaching tools. And she believes that the intersection of these two is where the magic happens. And Vix was born and raised in New Zealand, and she arrived in London at age 23 with just $36 in her pocket and has not looked back. And she doesn't like sitting still. She loves to travel, see, and taste, and try new things. And she is an Amazon best-selling author. And since all of this, she has built up a net worth of over $2 million and can call herself a multimillionaire. And I would love to welcome to the show, Vix Munro. Hello.
Hi, thank you for having me. So yeah, I'm here in London at the moment, so it's now evening time here.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, so happy to have you. And one of the questions I always ask here on High Vibe Nation is, what does it mean to be high vibe to you?
Well, to me, being high vibe means living a life in which your actions are aligned with your beliefs. And so living a life that is joyous, being the best, where you can be the best version of yourself, and that you do that by harnessing the power within.
Oh my gosh, wonderful. Absolutely love that. And I felt that too. So thank you for sharing with our audience. Now, I love this topic because this is a topic that is just a struggle for so many people. I mean, we, as children grew up with the belief that we had to be frugal and that money didn't grow on trees. Yeah. Money was the root of all evil. And when I was really reading up on you, the one thing I love that you have on your website is you said, how to find your financial G-spot. I was like, whoa, yeah. So let's first start us out with a little bit about your story. Tell us about who you are and how you've gotten to this position in life where you're just living full out. You're living financially free, and you're just passionate about sharing that with others.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you know, life is a journey, and it didn't start this way. As you said, I grew up in New Zealand, and I left New Zealand when I was 23. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to see the world. When you grow up in New Zealand, everywhere else feels a long way away. So I came to London, where you could go to Paris for the weekend, and I'm very passionate about travel. And in the past, I've been in debt. And it took me a long time to actually kind of get on top of my money and essentially rewrite my money story, because, we all have a money story. It's kind of the entirety of, our relationship with money over our lifetime. But I think some of the key things in my life to do with money, for example, one of the key things is my mother died when I was 11. And I kind of then the way I looked at that, or the way I interpreted that, was, wow, we might not be here for long. So, any money I get, I need to spend and have a good time, because who knows how long I'm here for, So I kind of lived I'm here for a good time, not a long time type of life. And I had debts, credit card debts. And it wasn't really until I was 36, which was the time at which I was older than my mother had been when she died, because she died at age 35. And it was then I thought, oh, gosh, actually, I might live a while. I need to kind of get on top of things. And I was 36, and I have 4 sisters, 3 of whom are younger, 1 older, and they all had properties back in New Zealand. And I had just been spending my money, traveling, having a good time, and realized I didn't really have anything to show for it, and also kind of becoming the same age as my mother. And it's at that point I kind of started to change my relationship with money. And, it's happened slowly over time, but that was really a major turning point for me. So a major point in my story.
Oh, I love it. And I can relate with so many things that you said. So much of it too, because a lot of us, we act and behave from the voids. And,
yeah, absolutely.
And so I can relate a lot on a lot of levels what you said. On one hand, my father was a multimillionaire overachiever, but he didn't believe in giving anything to us. He believed that we had to work hard for what, if we wanted something in life. And then on the other hand, my mother had the belief that money was the root of all evil, and that, we were going to lose it. And so I even know for myself throughout my own patterns in life, how I always felt like there was something missing. So the things that I wanted were always so grandiose. And there was also that angst and that sadness around it, because inside of me, I was so vibrant. And inside of me, I was so filled with passion, enthusiasm for life. But like I said, I also was afraid to overspend, because I thought, well, what if I don't, what if I can't pay my bills? What if I don't have enough? And so, start us out with, what is, I want to know from just your perspective, what is your financial G-spot?
Oh, yeah. So let's go to our financial G-spot. So the way I look at it, my financial G-spot is that sweet place where you can live a good life now, and spend money on the things that you need and the things that you want. And when I say the things that you want, I mean really want. So things that give you joy in a Marie Kondo kind of way. If you rate it and it's a 5, well, why would you spend money on it? But if it's an 8, 9, or 10, it's like, yeah, that's worth having. That brings me a lot of joy. So it's that point where you can live your best life now, knowing that you're also putting away enough money for the future. Because, you don't want to, be spending your golden years in poverty. So you want to have a good life now and a good life in the future. So that's what your financial G-spot is. It's that place.
Yeah, absolutely. Why do you think it is that we set ourselves up for living this frugal life or having these money mindset issues?
Yeah, well, money mindset is, it's a bit of, mindset generally is a bit of a buzzword at the moment, isn't it? Mindset is so important, and money mindset is just part of that whole overall mindset thing, except it relates to money. So it's all our subconscious beliefs about money, and it's really related to our money story. And it's interesting, isn't it, when we kind of go back and think about our relationship with money over time, and, the way you just talked about, it sounds like to me like a scarcity mindset, that it's kind of like, well, I can't spend that because I might not be able to pay my bills. We don't have this abundance mindset like, well, money, there will always be enough money, so I can have nice things now. So there's so much emotion attached to money, which is effectively what money mindset is, isn't it? There's anxiety. So sometimes there's anxiety that you won't be able to pay your bills, or there won't be any more money coming in. There's fear that there might not be more money coming in. Guilt if you do have money and your friends don't. Shame if you're in debt. So there's all these emotions associated with money, and it's only when we start to look at them and think about some of our blocks about money that we kind of can start to understand where they come from and then we can start to deal with them. So, if one of your money blocks is, there'll never be enough money, or I'll never be rich, or a common one is rich people are greedy, or as you said, I think your mother's one was money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
And if we think these now as adults, then it's like we have to ask ourselves, well, where does that come from? And there's a number of ways that you can kind of look at what and try and find out what your money mindset is, because as I said, it's subconscious, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not something we're acutely aware of. And so if you want to improve your money mindset, then what you need to do is actually understand what it is in the first place. And that actually can be hugely transformational in itself. There's a number of ways you can do it. So one of the ways is to be really conscious, and anytime anyone talks about money, to think about what your reaction to it is, and then later kind of analyze that. Well, why is that my reaction? Why did I think that? And think about that way. But one of my favorite ways to deal with it is to get a sheet of paper and write on it 20 times, money is, and fill in the gap. And then do that 20 times and write whatever comes up. And that's a really good way of it being spontaneous and, something coming from you spontaneous, and write it down and then look at it. And it can be quite surprising, some of the things you write down that you wouldn't think that, that weren't things that you were thinking. And then when you look at each of those and think, well, where does that come from? Where did I learn that? And if it's rich people are greedy, for example, did one of your parents say that? Why do you think that? Did you know rich people who were greedy? Because the whole thing about money is neutral energy. It's us, people, that give it negative or attach, negative or something positive to it. So saying rich people are greedy is saying something negative about rich people. And so if that's your money belief, your subconscious money belief, then you need to challenge that and say, well, hang on a minute. How many rich people do I know? Are they greedy? No. Oh, well, why do I think all rich people are greedy? And then, work on changing that belief. And obviously, some of the ways you can do that is through visualizations or using money affirmations in your meditation practice. Or what I prefer to do with money affirmations is I prefer to use cards and have them printed out and actually have them around my house so that I see them all the time. Because personally, I find meditation a bit difficult because my mind kind of works overtime. So I personally like to have them around my home so that I see them regularly. And that whole process of, affirmations is about helping you change your view on things. So if your money view is rich people are greedy, your affirmation could be rich people are wonderful.
I love that. What about people who are really good at making money, but they can't seem to keep it? Like I have this friend who, they're really, really good at making money, but they cannot seem to keep it at all. What do you think the subconscious belief is going on there?
Yeah, I think that's really common, actually. And I think there's a couple of things that could be going on. I think the first one is because even with a scarcity mindset, so people with a scarcity mindset actually react in one or two ways. So one of them is to kind of hold on to their money and accumulate it and not want to spend it. But the other way they react to it is, well, I'm never going to have money anyway. I might as well spend it. So quite often it's also associated with this, that whole thing of having a scarcity mindset, but it's a different way of reacting to it. And one of the affirmations which I think is really good for people who, are good at making it but can't keep it or can't grow it is I'm good with money, because often these people believe they're not good with money, and that once they get it, they're not good with it. They don't budget, they don't spend it on the right things. So I think that kind of affirmation is a good one to change that view. But what I find is some people find that too much, like it's too big a jump, and then when they're kind of saying it to themselves, they don't believe it. So I would say, if that's the case, take a stepped approach. So start off with, I'm learning to be better with money. Instead of going straight, if their belief is, I'm not good with money, and they find it difficult to go to, I'm great with money, go to something in the middle, and I'm learning to be good with money. And then when you're comfortable with that, move to, I'm good with money. So you can take a stepped approach, because the whole thing about money mindset work is it's ongoing work. You know, you can do all these things to improve your money mindset, but you know, there's things that are always there, and you think you've done a lot of work and you've overcome something, and then something will happen. You'll be like, oh, you know, I thought that, or I reacted in that way. And you know, we shock ourselves sometimes, but you know, money mindset work is, well, I say it's a lifetime's work. But what happens over that time is our money mindset improves and improves.
Such valid points. I absolutely love how you're sharing steps, because that's one of the things that I really have learned in my own life, is about sharing simple baby pockets of time that people can begin to grow that muscle. It's like developing new neural pathways in their brain.
Yeah.
And who doesn't know, or, you know, the difference between, you know, something that's real and not real. And we're the ones that are creating these experiences for ourselves. And so, you know, you hit the nail on the head, so many instances in what you're sharing. It's our attachment. So if our attachment is to, we don't have enough, then that's the only thing that's going to show up in our lives as what I like to say, a mirror of your belief window. And so if that's the case, then the more present we become in the moment, the more we can play a game with it and see, you know, because for me, I call it letting spirit pour into me, through me.
Oh, I love that.
Through those affirmations, because the more in tune, like when I speak them, like you were describing, what happens is it activates a heart connection, and your heart is actually 4,000 neurites more powerful than your brain. So when you're activating that heart, you're putting out a vibration that's so much more powerful. So these steps you're sharing are just, I mean, which leads me into my next question, because I'm all adventure.
And adventure. I love adventure too. I'm all up for adventure.
Woo! So you're my kind of girl. I mean,
yeah, I love adventure.
Love adventure. So talk about adventure around money.
So what do you mean by adventure around money? Just to
how can we make it an adventure? So like if that's our intention, to be financially free, have freedom of movement, be able to like you're saying, travel and have fun with life, be fulfilled. How can we make money an adventure?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Completely understand you. Yeah, I see money as an adventure. I see it as something, you know, an adventure to me is something I look forward to. It's something that's going to be fun. It's something that's going to be challenging. It's something that's going to be exciting. And I think money can be all those things. And money's also a journey. You know, life is a journey, so is money. And it's about, you know, for me, it's about having goals. It's about having things that we want to do, things that are going to enhance our life, and us creating and living that life. And a lot of the time we need money to do the things we want to do, and we need to create it. And so when I talk about it being an adventure, I talk about, first of all, about having a vision, having an idea of what that adventure is going to be like. So, you know, if we think about, I mean, this can be on a short-term basis, or it can be a long-term basis. So it could be, what do I want my year to be like? What's my vision for my year? What's my vision for living my best life? What's my vision for living my high vibe life this year? And then getting that down, and then thinking, okay, so, you know, within that, for example, I might have, I want to go to the Galapagos Islands. Which I do actually.
Yeah.
It won't be happening this year, but say that's in there. And if I don't have money for it, it's like, okay, I need to plan how I'm going to get that money and how I'm going to make it happen. Instead of saying, you know, again, which is the money mindset thing, oh, I can't afford to go to the Galapagos. It's saying, I really want to go to the Galapagos. Let's see how I can make that happen. And, you know, how much is it going to cost? What do I need to do to generate that amount of money if I don't have it now? And that's what I see as part of the adventure. So making money is part of the adventure, particularly when you've, you know, attached some of that money that you're making to something really exciting, something that's going to be, you know, an adventure for you. So that's the first thing. Also having a vision, you know, a plan for what I'm going to do in the Galapagos Islands. And And then that whole process of making that money and then kind of allocating it and then doing it. But that also applies, I mean, that's like a short-term goal, but life itself is a goal, you know, I talk a lot about retirement and retirement rich in every way. And also, you know, in terms of the financial G-spot, I'm talking about living your best life now and in the future. You know, I don't want to spend my golden years in poverty. And so that is a much bigger financial plan. But again, it's a similar process. It's about having a vision, like, how do I want to live my retirement years? I mean, for a lot of people, myself included, I don't see myself as, you know, fully retiring. I see myself as having some form of hybrid retirement, because I think retirement's changed. It's not like we're going to hit age 65 and then just suddenly stop work. And I love what I do, so I want to keep going in some kind of way. But so that's exciting. That's an adventure. So when I'm thinking about the future and kind of my long-term financial plan, I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm going to have some form of hybrid retirement. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, but I'm actually going to have more leisure time. I'm going to do even more traveling. I'm going to live in a cottage by the sea. You know, I have this vision for how that life is going to be, and which is exciting and an adventure for me anyway, just thinking about the vision and then, you know, planning it and costing it and working out how I'm going to get the money that I need, how I'm going to make enough money now that I can put away what I need to be putting away so that I can live that life in the future as well.
Makes me think, do you put a number to that? Like, do you put a physical number to that?
Yes, I do. Yes. Yeah. So, you know, say if it was the short-term one, I'm going to the Galapagos Islands, I would cost that out. You know, this is how much I work out how much it's going to cost. This is how much it's going to cost me. And then, you know, I want to go, you know, in a year's time. So I need to put away, if it was £2,000, for example, well, let's say £2,400, that's going to be easier to divide by 12. then I can work it out, you know, that way how much money I need.
I love it. What are some actual steps that people can use to detonate and eliminate their debt?
Right. I think if people want to eliminate their debt, so I think the very first step to eliminate your debt is actually to total them all up. Because one of the things I find, particularly people who have a lot of debt, I mean, if you've only got one debt as a credit card debt, then it's obviously much easier to deal with. But I find that some people have a lot of debt and they don't want to face it. And that's part of the reason they get into debt in the first place, because they don't face it. So the very first thing to do is to write it all down and total it all up. And yes, that might be scary, but it's also liberating in a way, because it's once you admit it to yourself, then you can do something about it. And I think that can be transformational in itself. Then I would say the second step is, and it depends on the level of your debt. I mean, you know, if it's just a small debt, which isn't going to be that difficult to pay off, the steps might be slightly different. But if you've got a large amount of debt, for example, you've got credit cards and loans, and you are struggling to pay it off, I suggest contacting your creditors, like your credit card company, and negotiating with them, because they want you to pay back the debt, but sometimes the interest rates might be too high. You can negotiate a lower interest rate, and some people have been able to negotiate a lower amount to pay back, a lower total amount to come.
Well, what would be something you would say, like if you were to call up the credit card company and try and negotiate a lower interest rate, what would
I would ring them up and say, hi, I'm Vix Munro. I've got this credit card debt with you. I'm really struggling to pay it off, but I really, really want to pay it off. The difficulty I have is, you know, the debt keeps increasing each month. The interest rate is high. You know, what can you do to help me? You know, if the interest rate were lower, then it would make it much easier for me. But I just want you to know that I'm struggling, because actually most credit card companies want to help you. You know, they want you to pay back that debt. And if you say that you're struggling, most of the time they will try and do something to help you. And quite often you'll find that the person that you even talk to on the phone actually has some leeway to do a deal with you before they have to go to their supervisor. So that already shows, yeah, that already shows that credit card companies are thinking about it. So that's the first thing I would do. That's the first thing, that's the second thing. And then the third thing, once you've kind of got down what your level of debt is, and it depends on your level of debt, but if you're just talking about paying it off, the first thing is I'd ask myself, okay, well, why did I get into debt in the first place? Usually, not always, it's because you're living beyond your means.
Mm-hmm.
And then what can you do? So the first thing you need to do is to reduce your spending so you don't go further into debt. So look at all your expenditure, what can you cut? And then can you cut more so that you can actually pay more off your debt each month? And then think about what way you're going to pay it back, because there's effectively two ways. One's called the snowball method and one's called the avalanche method. So one of them is you list your debts in order of interest rate and you pay back the one with the highest interest rate first, and that's the most economical way to do it. But the other way is you pay back the smallest debt first, regardless of the interest rate. And the advantage of that method is it gives you a quick win, because if you've got 5 different debts and, one's £5,000 and one's £500 and the other one's like £2,000, and if the £5,000 one has the highest interest rate, it's going to take you a long time to pay that back. But if you've got one for £500, even if it's a higher interest rate, it's a smaller debt and you could pay it back quickly. So I think it depends on your personality. If you're someone that needs these kind of psychological wins, then I would go for that method. But if you're someone that's like, I want to pay back less money overall, then go with the method of paying back the one with the highest interest rate first.
Gosh, such great advice. And you hit on something earlier that, was kind of like up in front of my face. So I am heading towards retirement. I'm 56, so I'm moving in that direction.
You're the same age as me.
Okay, so we're the same age. Yeah. So, we feel, we're in that mindset right now where we want to retire rich. What would be some of the steps to retire rich?
Okay. So what I would say, first of all, understand that it's never too late, because what I hear a lot from people our age and also people younger is they fear that it's too late. It's not too late. We've still got time on our side. Obviously, not as much time as we had 20 years ago. And there is that Chinese proverb, isn't there? Best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time to plant a tree is today. I love that Chinese proverb. And it's the same for planning for the future. Starting today is much better than starting in 5 years' time and then starting in 10 years' time. So what I would say is, first of all, similar to what I was talking about is, make it an adventure. So first of all, what are you aiming for? So understand what you want. So what age do you want to retire? How do you want to live your life? Where will you live? Who will you live with? What will you do? I mean, and people are different, aren't they? So when we talk about retiring rich means different things to different people. For some people, it's a little cottage by the sea and knowing that they've got enough money to pay their bills and they can have a nice holiday once a year. And that is their definition of rich. For other people like me, they want to do lots of travel. I want to have homes in the Northern Hemisphere and the Southern Hemisphere, go between the two and do lots and lots of travel. So for me, I probably need to have a lot more money put away than someone who wants a cottage by the sea, just being able to cover their bills and know that they're going to have a holiday once a year. So you need to have an understanding of where you're going, what your vision is, what your adventure, your future adventure is going to be. And then how much is that going to cost you? So you can work it out based on your current, lifestyle. I currently spend £30,000 per year, for example. And I think in the future, actually, I'll spend a little bit less because I have a mortgage at the moment, but my mortgage will be paid off. And, I won't need clothes for corporate life. So maybe I only need £24,000 a year. And once you work out how much, $24,000 a year.
I was going to say, what's the difference in dollars versus pounds?
I think at the moment £1 is around $1.37.
Okay.
So
not much difference.
Yeah, not that much difference. Depends what, I mean, yeah, and it depends. And so then you have a number, and then we have this thing called the 4% rule, which basically means that if you have a retirement pot, so all your kind of money is for retirement, and you take 4% at, say, age 67, which is the current retirement age for the government pension or government kind of retirement payment here in the UK. If you retire at 67, then you take 4% a year, and then the next year you take the same amount but adjusted for inflation. Then your retirement pot, you need to have a retirement pot that will last you until the end of your days. You need to multiply your yearly costs by 25. So you calculate, let's do something really simple. Say if you calculate your yearly costs for living in the future will be $40,000, and then obviously that gets adjusted for inflation each year. So you multiply that by 25, which is $1 million. So then your retirement pot needs to be $1 million. Now what you've got, I mean, I'm talking very crudely here and very generic, but if you work out for, 10 years of, the first 10 years of after 67, you're going to still be working. You won't need quite so much money. You can reduce what your retirement pot needs to be. And then you need to work out, how much have I got now? How much have I got? And when we talk about retirement pot, I mean, in the UK, we have these pensions. We have like government pensions as well as private pensions. But which people generally think of being a retirement pot. But in actual fact, a retirement pot is all our investments, like I have rental properties as well. I invest in crypto. I invest in precious metals. I invest in stocks and shares. So my retirement pot is the sum of all my investments. So work out how much I've got, and then what's the gap? How much am I missing? And then you can work out, okay, how much. If I'm only planning on contributing to that retirement pot in the next 10 years, how much do I need to contribute each year to that retirement pot? And the issue is that what's often happens is people find that what they need to contribute is much higher each year, is a lot higher than what they expected. So then it's a matter of like, okay, that's what you need to live that kind of life. So are you prepared to compromise your lifestyle in the future? Where can you make costs? Or are you going to say, right, I've got 10, 15 years, I'm going to make more money so that I can put more money away? Because in order to increase the amount you're investing for the future, there's essentially two ways to do it. Because you make money, whether it's you make money through employment or you have a business that pays you money, generates you money. So you make money and you spend money. This is what you make, this is what you spend. The difference is what you can put away for the future. So what you want, if you can't put away enough, you want to either increase your income or decrease your spending, or both. And then you've got a bigger surplus to invest for the future. So a lot of people focus on you'll have to reduce your costs. And I'm like, hang on a minute, no, what about making more money? Maybe I don't want to compromise my lifestyle. I'm going to look at making more money. And I think as an entrepreneurs, we can do that. We can say, okay, I want to make an extra $12,000 or £12,000 this year. And, all of that after tax, obviously, is going to go and get invested for my future. And then it's like, okay, that's $1,000 a month. How can I do that? What products am I going to sell? How many of them do I need to sell? And when you start breaking it down that way, it becomes manageable. But when you think about it, as a retirement pot of $1 million or $2 million or whatever it is you need, it can get a bit scary. So you've just got to break it down into years and months, and how much additional income you need to bring in, where you might be able to make some cuts in spending. And as I said earlier, I think most of us can trim a little fat in terms of spending. And when you ask yourself, I always talk about conscious spending, which is ask yourself, before you make any purchase, is this a need or a want? If it's a need, then you have it. If it's a want, and I said this earlier, if it's a want, well, how much joy is this going to bring me? On a scale of 1 to 10. If it's below 8, if it's a 1 to 7, certainly if it's 1 to 5, it's a definite no. Maybe if it's a 6 to 7, okay, maybe. But, I'll think about it for a week and I'll come back. but it's 8, 9, and 10, yeah, that's good. Go for it. So I think we can all, if we follow that approach, I think we can all probably trim a bit fat from our spending.
I love that. And you hit on something earlier around, the difference of new money that's come into the role of investing and playing the field in that area. And that's like crypto money. A lot of people don't even know what it is. And a lot of people are so in that realm of, unconscious awareness of what it is and how they can make money. Speak a little bit to that, and how can people build a business where they can retire rich?
Yeah, so actually the first thing, if I do the business thing first and then go on to the crypto. Yeah. So the way I think about it when I think about retiring rich, or I think about creating and building wealth, because essentially that's what you're doing. If you want to retire rich, you need to create and build wealth. And if I think about creating and building wealth, there's essentially two ways you can do it. One is through having a business, a legacy business that you can sell in the future. Now, in the UK, we have a newspaper called the Sunday Times, and every year they publish their Sunday Times Rich List. And pretty much most of the people on the Sunday Times Rich List own large businesses, and that's how they got rich. Obviously, if you're a small entrepreneur, you're probably not going to end up on the Sunday Times Rich List, but you could be, rich in your own way, in a way that's rich to you. And so, as I said, one way is to have a legacy business. So that's a business that you might want to pass on to your children or someone in the family, hence legacy. And that's more about generational wealth. Mm-hmm. Or you can sell it. And therefore, over time, you are actually investing in your business and it's increasing in value. But a lot of entrepreneurs, like myself included, I have a lifestyle business. So my business is based on me, and my business generates income for me, generates a lifestyle for me. And it's unlikely, but not impossible, that people with a lifestyle business won't be able to sell them in the future. Not impossible, though. Some people can. And it's a lifestyle business is the type of business that it does rely on us. Without us, it's not really a business. So if you don't have a legacy business, and if you have a lifestyle business, or if you're an employee, then the only way for you to build wealth is through investing money. And there's lots of different ways you can invest. You can invest in stocks and shares. You can invest in property. You can invest in government bonds or corporate bonds. You can invest in precious metals, gold and silver, commodities, collectibles like fine wine, classic cars, whiskies, what else is there, watches. Or the new asset class is crypto. And cryptos are really new, so that brings me on to crypto very nicely.
Yeah, I love it.
So crypto is a new asset class. It's only been around since 2009. Bitcoin is the monster in the crypto space. In fact, it was Bitcoin that came around in 2009, and now there are over 4,000 different cryptos, and not all of them are kind of monetary. Some of them are tokens and more kind of goods related rather than kind of money. But what crypto is, it's digital. So let's talk about Bitcoin, because it's a monster in the space and it's easy to talk about just one of them. Bitcoin is digital money. So what's digital money? Because if we think about the money we have today, which is called fiat currency, and fiat currency essentially is money that's guaranteed by our government. So, it's the government in the UK, it's the UK government that guarantees that a £2 note, will be worth £2. And the government guarantees that. But in today's world, for most countries, only around 10% of the currency, of the money supply, is actually physical money, so notes and coins. Most of our money is not physical, it's electronic anyway. So, if I want to send some money to you, I'm not sending cash in an envelope through the post. I'm just telling my bank to send it to your bank and put it in your account. So it's electronic. And digital money and cryptocurrencies is kind of one step beyond that. And if you think about Bitcoin, the difference is that through the use of cryptography, we can actually get away with the middleman. So we can get away with the banks. So if I want to send money to you, I can just I have my Bitcoin wallet and you have your Bitcoin wallet, and I can just send it directly from my Bitcoin wallet to your Bitcoin wallet. All I need to know is what is called the public key for your Bitcoin wallet. I don't need to know anything else. So your public key is like an account number in a bank. And, you know, for Bitcoin, if you have a wallet, you'll have a public key, which is like your account number, and a private key, which is like your password. But we don't, because of the way the blockchain works, we don't have to go through a middleman. We don't have to go through a bank. I can just send it directly to you because of the way it's set up through the blockchain. So it's digital money. And one of the things about Bitcoin that a lot of people like, a lot of people who invest in Bitcoin, is that it's outside government control and it's outside central bank control. I mean, one of the issues I think with fiat money at the moment, like US dollars or UK pounds, is that governments have been printing a lot of money, particularly in the last year or so with COVID, and that's inflationary because suddenly you have a lot more money around chasing the same amount of goods. So the value, we're effectively devaluing our currency. And so a lot of people that are into Bitcoin see it as a hedge against inflation. Also that, so a lot of people that like it because Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, he refers to it as the people's money because it is outside government control and outside central bank control. But obviously, you know, there's some issues with that. I mean, you know, governments, recently, a couple of weeks ago, China said they were going to ban purchase of any goods with Bitcoin, and set the Bitcoin price tumbling. I mean, that day, it was amazing how quickly the Bitcoin price dropped. But it is, you know, the Bitcoin is volatile but it goes up a lot and then it goes down a lot. So it is volatile. But that's essentially what Bitcoin is. It's kind of like money. I can transfer it to you, but it's outside government control and it's outside central bank control. So it's decentralized and it utilizes a blockchain. And another key thing about Bitcoin that people do like is it has a scarcity element to it. So there can only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. The way it's all pre-programmed, and there can only ever be that amount. And at the moment, I think there's around 18 million have been mined. And so what the miners are essentially doing is they are conducting kind of complex mathematical equations and essentially validating the transactions on the blockchain. And the blockchain is just like a ledger or a database where all the information is held. So, and the Bitcoin miners get rewarded in Bitcoin, but the amount of that reward halves every 4 years. So again, the amount of new supply of Bitcoin each year is decreasing over time as well until all 21 million Bitcoin are mined. So that's another thing that people like because it's scarce and it's increasing scarcity because each year there's less Bitcoin available.
Wow.
And it's complicated a lot. And I think the thing is about it is that it used to be, you know, when Bitcoin first came out, it was all the geeks, all the Bitcoin crypto kind of computer geeks that were buying it.
Yep.
And then you got some other people, you know, kind of individuals buying it. And last year was the first time we really saw some big corporate companies purchase it. And MicroStrategy, which is a US company, a business intelligence company, they were the first big corporate to buy it, and they only bought it in August last year. So, and they bought $425 million worth of Bitcoin. And I think, you know, where one comes, others follow.
What a great analogy. Hi, Robert. So good to see you. Robert's one of my loyal viewers. So I love when Robert comes on. Wow, that's pretty awesome. Even my own daughter just literally started investing in Bitcoin and blockchain. And, you know, of course, she invested a little bit at first because she was not so sure, but she made like $1,000 right off the bat, which she was pretty excited about. Even ourselves, my husband and I, we invested in some of the bigger companies like American Airlines and all of that during the COVID when the rate dropped down so low.
Yeah.
Because you know it's going to go back up. And we did really well. So I'm really happy to have you share that because I mean, even a lot of things you talked about, I absolutely had no idea. And that's why I wanted to find out a little bit more based on your expertise. I know that when I was, reading some of your blogs and looking through that, one of the things that you talk about is the importance of having a strong network when it comes to business building. Do you mean, when you say a strong network, do you mean just all your connections and contacts? Do you mean community? Share a little bit more about that.
What I actually mean is actually a strong network of support people, because I think sometimes being an entrepreneur and working on your own can be quite lonely. And it's there's a quote, isn't there? And I use it sometimes. What is it? Behind every successful woman is a tribe of other women, holding her up, or something. It goes something like that. And I think it's so true. And I'm in, a few groups of businesswomen, like 10 or 12 businesswomen's masterminds, and we do really support one another. And I think that's really important to know that, you have business besties who you can contact and who understand, what's happening and what you're going through, because sometimes people who aren't entrepreneurs don't actually understand what it's like to run their own business. And so that's what I mean a lot when I talk about having a network of people around you.
I love it. I love it. Gosh, well, you've had so many amazing things that you've shared with us today. And I mean, I just know that for people who are just starting out, what would be a way that they could learn more about, the things that you've been talking about, and how to, really handle that learning curve from themselves, especially if they're just starting a business or building for retirement?
I think lots of ways, really. It's hard to know where to start. Obviously, I have, I talk about this on my Instagram, on Facebook, a little bit on LinkedIn as well, but also books. I mean, I always think books are a great way, podcasts, and also to learn slowly, to even ask yourself questions, because sometimes, we think we don't know things, and we actually do. Like, if the whole, when I talk about spending money, be conscious in your spending decisions. I think everyone knows if they spend too much money, if they could take a bit of fat off their spending, but it's that we don't want to do it. But I think it's more to understand the why. Why am I doing it? Because sometimes that can, if you know that the reason I want to reduce my spending now is so that I can actually not just have a good time now, but have a good time in the future as well. And I don't want to spend my golden years in poverty. If you're really clear and you have a clear financial plan and a clear goal, it's easier to take the actions towards it and say, okay, in order to do that, I need to cut my spending a bit, but I'm only going to cut the things that, are actually not a good use of my money.
So true. Is there any last things you want to leave with our audience today?
Let me think. Well, first of all, I think we can all create and live the life we want, but in order to do it, we do need to have a vision and a plan. There's a saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if you do want to create and grow wealth, and if you do want to have the retirement of your dreams, you do need to plan for that. And then I suppose the second thing is that we can all improve our relationship with money. Yes, it's going to be ongoing over our lifetime, but we can rewrite our money story. And that's about being really aware of our money blocks, being aware of our money mindset, and doing work to improve it. And it's completely possible to rewrite our money story.
I love that. Such great, great advice. And it also kind of taps me into recognizing that I can make decisions today to move forward. And I can still set that intention today and really build this life that I deserve to live.
Exactly.
That's so awesome. Okay, so we've got some amazing ways to get a hold of you. I've posted on the screen your Retire Rich checklist and how they can go to your website. Please go ahead and share with the audience how they can reach you on your different social media outlets.
Okay, so on Facebook, I have a page called Money Badassery. On Instagram, I also have Money Badassery, but also my personal one, which is Vix.Munro. And on that, I share both personal and business. On LinkedIn, I'm Vix Munro. My website is www.moneybadassery.com. I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much, Vix. This has been such an enjoyable conversation today. I mean, all the things that you shared are, I think, very important and vital right now for people of all ages.
Yeah, definitely, all ages. And also, the earlier you start, the better. But just because you haven't started yet, it's not too late. Like, don't say, oh, well, too late for me. No, it's not too late.
Yeah, well, and not only that, I mean, one of the things that I think that you brought up that we didn't even touch on was how to build wealth young, how to pass on to our children and really, them to create that rich life that they deserve in their youth.
Yeah, a lot of people, it's a bit of a buzzword at the moment, actually, generational wealth. A lot of people now who are talking about building wealth are saying, I want to build generational wealth. I want to help my children and their children in the future as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you being a guest on High Vibe Nation this week. I want to thank all of the audience members, as always, for being here, supporting the show, liking and sharing this on all of your social media networks. It always helps me out because the message is that I want to hold that space for all of you to remember that this power exists within you, and each and every one of you deserves to live an amazing life. You can find me on the web at www.thehighvibenation, on Instagram at The High Vibe Nation, and on Facebook at The High Vibe Nation. We will see you next week, as always, on Wednesdays. Have a great rest of the day.
From everybody here at the High Vibe Nation, we want to say thank you for choosing to raise your vibration. And of course, please like, share, and subscribe. If you need to find us on the web, check us out at www.thehighvibe.com.